Did you know that one of the most amazing African fairy tales tells of a princess whom no one wanted to marry because of her terrible secret? Princess Adana was known for her beauty, but she was haunted by a cursed odor so strong that even her most devoted suitors turned away from her. Despite her kindness and tender heart, she remained lonely until one day she met a kind drummer named Arin. That meeting changed her life forever. Princess Adana lived in a small village surrounded by green hills and fields. Her father, King Chukwemeka, was a wise ruler, and Adana herself was known from childhood for her kindness and care for the people. But from birth, Princess was haunted by a terrible affliction. She had a strong, disgusting odor that only got worse as she grew older. Wherever she went, the stench followed her, scaring away everyone around her. As she grew older, the villagers began to avoid her, sneering behind her back and turning away when she appeared. Many young men from neighboring villages and kingdoms, enchanted by her beauty, wanted to court Adana. But as soon as they came within a few steps, they were repulsed by the terrible odor and abandoned their intentions. Princess was left alone, dreaming of a love that could overcome her misfortune. She spent long days in her room, looking out the window and imagining a husband who would love her in spite of this flaw. One day, during a summer festival, Adana ventured out of the palace and secretly watched the festivities. She hoped that in the hustle and bustle, no one would notice her presence. However, a slight breeze blew toward the crowd, and a horrible odor quickly spread through the square. People began to turn around, wrinkling their brows and pointing at the princess. The entire party came to a halt, and a barrage of taunts fell upon Adana. She ran away, hiding in the bushes, crying bitterly in humiliation. And then, when Adana had no hope for anything, she heard the sound of a drum approaching. From behind the trees came the young drummer Arin, who asked with a smile, "Why did you stop dancing? You were so free and happy." The princess, surprised by his kindness, couldn't believe that someone smelling her odor had decided to come to her anyway. Arin told her to ignore the evil taunts and continue to dance as her heart prompted. This kind gesture touched Adana. For the first time, she felt accepted for who she was. Arin didn't see her outward flaw, he saw her soul and beauty from within. Inspired by his words, Adana began to dance, freeing herself from her fears and anxieties. The music and the drum beat filled her with joy, and she danced like never before, feeling truly happy. From that moment on, Adana's life changed. She met Arin secretly every day in the same place behind the bushes. He would bring his drums, and they would spend time together laughing, telling stories, and dancing to his music. Each day their friendship grew stronger, growing into something more, warm feelings that filled the hearts of both of them. Arin didn't care for her scent and enjoyed her freedom in the dance. Kind and gentle heart. For Adana, these encounters were a breath of fresh air. She had finally found a man who accepted her, who she was. She no longer felt lonely when she was around Arin. He had become a source of joy and support for her. With each passing day, their affection grew, and soon Arin made up his mind. One day, holding Adana's hands, he offered her to be his wife. His eyes were full of love, and he sincerely said he wasn't worried about social status or royal customs. All he wanted was to be with her and tie their lives together in love. Princess Adana was stunned by his proposal. She had not expected such a beautiful moment to come in her life. Joy and wonder filled her heart, and she readily agreed. For the first time in her life, she felt that she was truly loved, despite all the difficulty. But unfortunately, their happiness was short-lived. Soon a terrible disease spread through the kingdom. Plague ravaged the villages, claiming the lives of many people. 4 neighboring villages, including the one where Arin lived, were closed to all movement. People were forbidden to leave their homes or cross village boundaries. Adana and Arin found themselves separated. Months of isolation passed in agonizing anticipation and fear. The princess prayed every day that Arin was alive, but she had no way of knowing what was happening to him. Unfortunately, Adana herself soon fell ill. Fevers and painful blisters began to cover her body. The king and queen were desperate to see their daughter slowly fading away. They tried every possible remedy, herbal infusions, decoctions, even ancient recipes from animal blood, to save her, but nothing worked. It seemed that the disease was about to take the princess. However, a miracle happened. One ancient and strange elixir helped the princess slowly begin to recover. Weeks later, Adana was out of bed, weak but alive. And to her surprise, she noticed something incredible. Her odor that had plagued her all her life was gone. The disease had somehow cleansed her body, and the princess was free of the cursed odor. When Adana realized that her curse was gone, she was overjoyed. Her joy was so intense that she immediately ran to her parents to tell them the wonderful news. King and Queen, seeing their daughter recovered and happier than ever, shared her joy. Princess was now full of confidence, for her long-standing problem that had robbed her of love and acceptance no longer existed. In time, the plague began to subside, and the kingdom gradually came back to life. The borders of the villages reopened, and the inhabitants could move freely. Adna left the palace for the first time in a long time, to walk through the marketplace and see her people returning to normal life. But as soon as she stepped outside the castle gates, a new miracle awaited her. All those who had previously avoided her because of her odor now looked at her with admiration. People began to praise her beauty, grace, and health. Young men who had previously turned away from her now watched her every move in awe. But in the midst of all this attention and fame, Adana had almost forgotten about her old friend Arina. While she was basking in the glow of new recognition, her gaze happened to fall upon a familiar figure. It was Arin. He was rushing towards her, happy that he could finally meet her again after months of separation. His face was glowing with joy, and without hiding his feelings, he rushed towards her to embrace his beloved. The princess suddenly froze. Now that her scent was gone and she was the center of attention of the whole village, she wondered, did she really need Arin, a mere drummer, and she could marry someone more noble? Doubt and uncertainty filled her heart. As Arin stepped closer, Adana looked at him, with cold aloofness. He tried to hug her. She pulled away. "You can no longer call me just Adana," she said coldly. "I am a princess now, and our future is impossible. We belong to different worlds." Arinza's face darkened with pain and bewilderment. He couldn't believe that the one who had been his friend and lover was now rejecting him so coldly. He tried to convince her that his feelings hadn't changed, that he still loved her no matter what. But Adana had been adamant. She told him she deserved better than a mere drummer and arrogantly turned her back on him. Her heart clenched in pain. Pride and a sense of superiority made her walk away. Arin was left standing, stunned and broken, looking after his lover, who had chosen fame and position over their sincere love. Several months passed. Princess Adana continued to bathe in luxury and attention. Now that her scent was gone, she had many rich and powerful suitors for her hand. Majestic lords and noble princes who had once shunned her were now competing to be her husband. Adana accepted their compliments, feeling superior, enjoying her new life. But despite her outward joy, something inside her was fading. Every time another prince or lord spoke words of praise about her beauty, Adana involuntarily remembered the sincere and kind words Arin had spoken to her. No riches, no noble titles could replace the pure joy she felt dancing to his drumbeat. She began to realize that she had traded the most important thing, true love, for vanity and fleeting praise. One day, to finally win over all her fans, Adana announced a wrestling tournament. She declared that the winner of this tournament would receive her hand in marriage. Strongmen from all over the kingdom came to fight for such an honorable award. The princess was sure that among them there would be a worthy husband who would elevate her even more. But in all the days of preparation for the tournament, Adana had been so consumed with concern for her appearance and attire that she had begun to neglect ordinary hygiene, and soon her old odor returned. On the day of the tournament, as she entered the arena in her magnificent robes, expecting rapturous shouts and admiring glances, the crowd began to whisper quietly and turn away. The very odor that had once frightened everyone away began to emerge. The tournament participants, writhing, left the arena one by one, unwilling to fight for the princess's hand. Adana was devastated and humiliated. She took off her expensive jewelry and ran away crying, feeling all the pain of her own vanity. But as soon as she was out of sight, her gaze came across a familiar figure again. Arin was standing off to the side, watching her with the same kind and sympathetic gaze she remembered. Arin approached her calmly, despite her earlier disdain. He looked at her with the same genuine warmth as before and spoke. "My dear, how could you forget what is really important? Was our feeling for each other not enough for you to reject for the fleeting admiration of others?" Adana bowed her head, unable to hold back her tears. "Forgive me, Arin," she said with a tremor in her voice. "I was blinded by my looks and vanity. I thought that if I became more beautiful, I could forget about our love. But I was wrong. I lost the most important thing, you. Please forgive me." Arin looked at her with compassion and understanding. He came closer and said, "True beauty is not on the outside, but in how you feel and how you love. And to me, you have always been beautiful, no matter what others think." Adana cried even harder, realizing what a mistake she had made. She hugged him, feeling the heaviness of her soul finally let go. Arin forgave her, and from that moment on, their love was rekindled with renewed vigor. Together they were able to overcome all obstacles, and Adana realized that true love did not depend on looks or status. Want to know more such cautionary African tales? Subscribe to our channel, give us likes, and share your thoughts in the comments.